Today we're going to be talking about Dehancer Pro, popular plugin for film emulation and for creating cinematic look. People from Dehancer asked me to make unbiased review so they can improve even further. And like always, that's the way I prefer to make any review. So let's dive in. I'm using DaVinci Resolve. My interface for Dehancer Pro is the same in Final Cut Pro or Adobe Premiere, so it doesn't matter which NLE do you prefer. Let's apply Dehancer Pro on the second node, because on the first node we can always make some corrections. First I'm gonna disable film grain, because it's enabled by default. I like to start clean. If you prefer to film in log, there is an amazing option to select your camera and convert your footage to proper starting point. In my case, camera was 670 in log 2. Okay, here you can choose profile you prefer, experiment and try which profile suits you best. There's lots of options, but I think Kodak Vision 50D will be perfect for my footage. One idea worth to be mentioned, and which could be improved by the Dehancer team, is while hovering over film profile the change should be visible, instead of clicking each profile, which is time consuming. The good thing in the Dehancer Pro that you can change each parameter in the same place. I'm intentionally exaggerating with the settings, so you can see the difference. So there is exposure compensation, temperature, tint, the fringe, just usual tools. And with these settings you can adjust the strength of the profile. Then we've got another set of very useful settings under Film Developer. Here you can boost your contrast, change gamma correction, play with color separation and even color boost. Besides great option in Dehancer, I've noticed one minor problem. For most of the settings to work, they first need to be enabled manually. It would be much better if those settings could be enabled automatically once we start to move the slider. So I hope developers in Dehancer will have this in mind for the future update. Okay, let's move on. Under film compression, there are another set of very useful tools. You can change white point. Look at the details on the bikers' helmets. Then there is a tonal range and color density. Let me show you the difference before and after in full screen, just for film compression. With those two settings you can significantly change the details of your picture. After all, you can change the impact of all those settings you've made. It's really amazing what you can do with this, and it's so simple. Especially the beginners in color grading will love it. Here you can adjust black point and white point, in case there is a need for correction. And again, a very efficient option to speed up your workflow. Let's check it out what we've done from the beginning of the grading process with the Dehancer Pro. It's amazing, isn't it, in such a short time. Then we've got film print. Here you'll find 5 different profiles, and where the most popular is Kodak 2383, but you can choose whichever suits you best. Of course you can adjust it even further, with exposure, tonal contrast, color density and saturation, or you can leave it disabled if you don't need it. Another great tool is Color Head, where you can change any color range. Also there is a tool for adjusting shadow tone, midtone and highlight tone, which is very useful. And with this tool you can also preserve the exposure and change the impact. Let's move on a film grain, which is in my opinion very organic and very useful. It could be adjusted in every single detail, like size, amount of grain and film resolution. Or even you can put the grain only in shadows or highlights. For example, in this shot film grain is too harsh for my taste, even I reduced the amount of it to minimum. So ability to adjust the grain and midtones is highly appreciated and makes a big difference. Next tool is halation. Probably most of you are familiar with it, and having it inside the Dehancer is a plus. I've noticed it behaves a little bit different than the stock one that comes inside the DaVinci Resolve, but all adjustments are proper and work great. Next is bloom. Depending on the mood of your story, you can find this tool very useful. It adds overall dreamy look. Like in halation, bloom has the mask mode too, so you can precisely adjust the amount of it. Also we've got vignette here. I used to put vignette manually in DaVinci Resolve, but in the Dehancer Pro could be also very efficient because all adjustments are simple and very convenient. My advice is to first lower the feather, so you can see the shape of the vignette. Then make some adjustments and at the end increase the feather. And you're good to go. Let's see before and after. Okay, let's move on to film breath. This tool simulates some kind of slight flickering, which can be seen in the movies shot on film, and honestly I'm not using it in my work. However, if you want to mimic that kind of film effect, just go for it. At the end, it's always about our own preference and creativity. Gateway is a tool which will enable you to incorporate some shakiness into your footage. For example, if you are filming some action scenes with stabilizer or fast driving car scenes where shakiness is needed for overall feeling, you can play with those settings and the results will be amazing, just don't overdoing it. Then there is a monitor tool, which brings fast color option and clipping indicator where you can check if everything is on point. Next is output, where we can change total impact of all adjustments we've done so far, which is very important. So if you think there is too much effect on your footage, you can decrease it in a second. And the last tool is LUT generator, where you can make your own LUT and export it for later usage. One quick check before and after. Also, you don't need to make all the adjustments in the Dehancer node. You can go back on a first node and make additional adjustments whichever you prefer. And final check what we've done in only a few minutes. I think it's amazing. This is DJI Mavic 2 Pro drone shot, and with the Dehancer Pro tools, obviously you can perfectly match cinema camera with the DJI drone 2 and make your footage to look like it was shot on a film. So final verdict. I think the Dehancer Pro is an amazing tool which is very capable for any serious project. It doesn't mean you don't need to touch any other tool in DaVinci Resolve or your favorite NLE instead of the Dehancer Pro. Of course not, but it could be a great option for the beginners or editor colorist who are on a tight deadline and a great help in any project with its amazing capabilities. If in some future upgrade they improve two things I mentioned before in details, such as mouse hover preview over film profile and to automatically enable the tool once the option slider is moved, that could be really great. So guys, give it a try and see what you can achieve with the Dehancer Pro. Use my promo code CINEMAS for 10% discount, which you can also find in the description down below. Have a good one and see you in the next video.